Let's get live. Going to get this taken care of. And all right, everyone, welcome once again to our Manufacturing Ecommerce Success Series. I'm one of your co-hosts, Damon Pistolka. With me, my friend, my bromance, Curt Anderson down there on the bottom. And I forgot my bromance t-shirt today, dude. I honestly did. I will put it next week. I'm going to wear it, and that was so great. But I'm excited for today. I can't even talk about it. I'm so excited today.
Dude, I haven't slept all week, man.
I'm telling you, maybe I'm crazy from lack of sleep for this. But Curt, go ahead and take it away. And I just want to say, if you're listening to us on LinkedIn, make sure to tell us where you're listening from. I'm going to be looking like this at the chat. I'll be chatting back at you. Let's get things rolling on Remo or LinkedIn.
Guys, happy Friday. Thank you. So first off, most importantly, yes, Greg, miss you. This is myself and Damon. So please drop your favorite Muppet. Paul, we're going to get into your favorite Muppet today. So guys, I want to introduce my good friend, my buddy. He's down in Jersey, Mr. Paul Kiesche. Paul from Aviate. He's the founder and president of Aviate Creative. Paul, welcome. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today.
I'm so excited to be here, Curt. I've been watching you guys jumping in on the chats, and now I'm live. I'm so excited. So it's nice to have everybody with us today too. Good to see everybody.
So Dan Bigger, he's late. He's on at 1:33. So guys, let me share a little bit about Paul. Paul has built an amazing, incredible career, a great business, a hugely successful entrepreneur. And Paul, I believe, is this week a big week for you? Did I hear that from my friend Dan Bigger?
Yep, celebrating 16 years in business, and wow, that's very exciting.
Awesome.
And the thing is, we kid around a lot in the show, but let me be serious for 1 minute. Like 4 out of 5 businesses fail in their first 5 years. After that, it just keeps plunging, right? Damon, you know that as well as anybody, right? Yeah. Those numbers to survive for 16 years, you've done it, with integrity. You've built an incredible business helping companies. So first off, congratulations. Our hats off to you. What a massive accomplishment. Well done, my friend.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
So secondly, let's go back a little bit in time, Paul. So you started off a nice career and you decided to go into entrepreneurship. Why did you, how and why, what triggered you to start Aviate Creative?
Yeah. And it's interesting. It's going to come up in our discussion, I think, at some point, but it didn't start as Aviate Creative, right? My business initially started as Paul Kiesche Design. And I ran that, for probably the first 11 years or so, and then rebranded as Aviate Creative. So it's now that we're talking about branding today, I'll talk about why I changed that name and how that's impactful. But yeah, I initially got into business probably like a lot of entrepreneurs, where I felt like I was too stuck in where I was at. I wanted to, not have limitations on what I could do. I wanted to be in control of my own destiny, my own time, all that kind of stuff. So, and I just naturally always took the leadership role. So it made sense for me. So, yeah, 16 years later, a lot has changed, a lot has developed, and it's been a roller coaster.
That's awesome. And man, we've got a great crowd today. We have our Alaska tribe here. We've got Dr. Alyssa, my friend Candy and Daisy. Hey guys, thank you for joining us. Of course, my friend Val and our new friend Linda Bigger. Greg, missed you. Edward, thank you guys for taking time. Maria, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Now, and Dan Bigger really made this connection possible for me. So, I want to give a shout out and thank you to Dan for connecting me with Paul. So Paul, you start this great creative company, graphic design. Why manufacturers?
We needed to niche down. We spent our first bunch of years very generalist mindset. So we worked with every kind of company. And we needed to narrow down and niche down, and we'll talk about that more today as well. And we decided on two major avenues, which is manufacturing and technology. And we chose those because when we looked at our portfolio, we looked at our experience, those two were continuous through our entire time of having our company, where more and more we realized we worked really well with manufacturers. We understood them. We understood how to talk their language. And we had a lot of examples of the work we did. So we really just like tripled down on it, got really involved in the community, really involved in understanding it. So we started interviewing manufacturers and just wanted to know everything about their challenges and their interests and stuff. And then just dove all in, almost all completely manufacturing now. So it's been great.
You know, and when you get to this side of things, it's, you know, maybe it sounds a little easier, but when you're in that moment and you're getting your business off the ground, trying to get some traction, it's hard to like collectively pick that lane, you know, where you're afraid like, hey, what if my lane's over here? Or what if my lane's over here? Yeah. So kudos again to you for like, you know, having the courage and say, you know what, I can't be everything to everybody. And so folks that, you know, that we've been having conversations together, you know, we're always talking about like that persona, digging deep into like, you know, our soulmates, staying in our lane. So that's great that, you know, you're not talking the talk, you walk the walk and made that conversion. So we have so much to cover today. Let's just plow right into it, man. Sleeves are rolled up. I stretched out before this and did a few jumping jacks. So, I mean, I'm ready to rock. Let's talk about your process. Okay. So like, I don't know if you see like you walk into a manufacturer, maybe see some of the same common problems over and over, but talk like, and guys, I put, please put your LinkedIn profile in the chat box. I put Paul's LinkedIn profile and his website in the chat box. Strongly encourage you, connect with Paul and check out his website. He has a wealth of information on branding. So Paul, talk about your process, that first engagement. How can you help manufacturers with branding on those first steps and stages?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, one thing is that when we started talking to manufacturers, we learned that it wasn't necessarily the same challenges and problems that other companies were having. For example, most people think of branding as they might think of it as just like something pretty and something cool. So like, I want a cool logo. And honestly, that's not really what it comes down to. And then a lot of people just relate it to sales and sales only, which is important. Sales is huge. But some of the things that we realized when we interviewed manufacturers was they might have an issue with looking like a commodity and having to price like a commodity. And we realized branding can help with that. So other things were like employee recruitment and retention. A lot of manufacturers are having huge challenges with that. And we realized that branding was a key role in improving that. You had mentioned, I think, last week to me or so about future-proofing your business. And I think that's a huge thing about branding. And then one thing that is interesting in manufacturing as well is a lot of manufacturers are aging out and they want to merge, they want to sell, they want to be acquired, they want to exit their company, and branding even has to do with that. So those are some of the things I figured would be great to share with your group today, because it's a logo is tremendously successful in helping to better sell your products and your services, but I think there's a lot of hidden benefits that are not talked about, which I wanted to talk about today.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, Damon. So go ahead, Damon.
Well, and you make a great point, Paul, because when I'm selling businesses or helping prepare businesses to sell, one of the things the buyers always talk about is they look at the brand now. They're looking at the social media. They're looking at they're looking at everything from Glassdoor to sometimes even Yelp, which I think is too old school even for me. But they look at it all. They really do, and what the things that you are covering are so relevant, because you can run a business forever the way you do it now, since you started 25 years ago, word of mouth, all that kind of thing. But someone else being in that situation, they don't have those relationships and can't do it the same way.
Absolutely. You know what clued us in a lot on the exiting strategy is we do a lot of work with investment companies that purchase and acquire manufacturers and technology companies. And the first thing they think about is, we need to rebrand this because we want to be able to sell it. And so like, why not do that yourself and like be able to job. You know?
Cut
100%.
out the middleman.
Preach, brother. That's all
And
I'm
then you have
saying.
control
Preach,
over it. Instead of giving that control to the investment company, like at least you can control it. You know, a big part of that is taking your ego out of it, though, because and I'll jump right into the end here, which was talking about why I rebranded. When my company was created, I named it Paul Kiesche Design, and we ran into a big problem. 11 years in, we realized that people still thought I was an individual. They still thought that they had a hard time imagining it as an agency. And then I realized I could never sell this company. I could never exit out of it if I wanted to.
Right.
So we rebranded to Aviate Creative to change the perception of our company. So we're going to talk a lot about perception today and how, you know, you really want to just kind of make sure that it gives off the right perception and vibe to where you want to be, not where you are now, but where you want to grow to, you know?
Where do you want to be?
Yeah.
Wow, man, future proof. Skate to the puck, right? I mean, that's just such brilliant advice. So, guys, as you know, if you're new to Paul and you're, you know, Paul is also an adjunct professor, so you can tell, like, you know, we're in class right now. Hope you know my pencil's sharpened. We're taking notes. And Paul, on a personal note, is you know, fellow father. I know you have two beautiful twin daughters, and that's your most important thing in life.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I have immense respect for you as a dad and a friend. But let's go through that process. And I know we need to save time because, like, Damon's drooling about that exit, the branding strategy for the exit. So let's go through your process and let's talk. Okay, so you walk into the manufacturer, and you know they've been cutting metal, they bend steel, they do, you know, circuit boards. We talk about this every week. And branding just not their thing. They're widget experts, they're operational excellence, but they're, you know, this branding concept is new to them. How, like, what's like a branding 101 that you have for a man, you know, so like we have some new manufacturers, or like our friend Dan Bigger. So say branding's new to that manufacturer. What's that, you know, what are some of the first steps that you're going to take them through?
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, we're going to have conversations. It's a lot about communication, making sure that we understand what their expectations are, what our process is. And in that process, we talk about the value of that brand and how that brand can, like I said before, change your perception. It can help with your positioning a lot. So we talked about niching down before, and understanding how a brand can kind of speak directly to their audience, to that consumer, to what it is. And we talk about the values that we talked about before too, of appealing to employees, appealing to new prospect employees, to, you know, all the advantages that can kind of come out of it. Once we're on board with what the value of the logo is, we talk about our process, and we go down the road of explaining that, you know, it is about understanding their brand. And so we fully understand their positioning, their strategy, their differentiation, and understand, you know, how they want to be perceived, their customers, you look at their competition. You want to really understand like the full picture before you get into it. And then we get into brainstorming, sketches, and designing. And when we do sketches, we don't just do like one sketch and say, here's your logo. We do probably like 30, 50, 80 logos, and then kind of narrow it down and refine it and make sure that it's solving the problem. Again, it's not just a pretty picture. It's actually effective at the strategies that we're trying to do, help sell, help make your company look better in many ways, you know?
God, that's just so
powerful. That's so incredible, man. Going through that process, people don't realize until you've done it a few times how powerful it is when you get everything succinct and correct.
Yeah, it's amazing. Some companies will settle for, you know, $50, $5 logo, and they'll buy a stock image and stuff. And I'm like, okay, it kind of looks nice, but it's not solving 95% of your problems, you know? And like, you're missing a huge opportunity. That logo is the first impression of your company, and most people don't go beyond the first impression. You know, they look for 2 to 3 seconds, and if you're not fitting the bill, they move on. So that logo is your big chance to say who you are, what you do, how good you are, your quality. You know, it gives off huge perception of what to expect with your company. And if you have some, no offense to college kids, but if you have some college kid or high school, student, whatever, whip up your logo for some small price, your whole company will now look like it's whipped up by some high school student instead of being professional and high quality, Yeah. So it's huge and important. And it's amazing how few manufacturers take that seriously. And it shows, they struggle with perception, and they don't even realize it half the time,
Man, that's a great point. And so our dear friend, Dr. Alyssa, so speaking of parenthood, Dr. Alyssa and her partner, her wife, they're having a baby on, I believe, Sunday. So
wow.
Alyssa, get a good night's sleep tonight, because this will be the last. So guys, big congratulations to Dr. Alyssa up at she's with the Alaska MEP, dear friend of ours. As a matter of fact, she has a great webinar coming up this week. I'll drop a link in the chat box. But Paul, she has a question for you. How do you use your brand to help grow your community? And so my friends up in Alaska, Daisy, Candy, this is a great conversation right here. So again, how do you help your brand to grow your community?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I'm a big fan of growing communities. I'm involved in quite a few, and I like not just using my own brand, but I like to make almost like secondary brands or embrace the brand of the community. So like, for example, I'm sure Curt will talk about it more, is that I'm involved in the USA Manufacturing Hour. And so I actually helped rebrand, or not rebrand, but help brand the event virtual mixer series. And my intention on that is to not actually appear Aviate Creative at all, and to just fully embrace that organization. I think if you try to brand the communities too much, it feels too much like sales, and people kind of back away. So I always try to be very genuine to the organization. I also ran for, 10 years. I ran the Marketing Dinner Club. I was the founder of that, and completely created a separate brand for the Marketing Dinner Club. It ended up becoming, 800 members, bi-coastal, and just kind of blew up for a while. But I never once said my brand was part of it, kind of thing. But it certainly translates into being part of that community, part of sales, because once you're part of those, I hope I'm answering this question.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but once you become part of that community, you become trusted, respected. They come to rely on you, and so forth, and therefore they come searching for you and say, "What do you do?" And or they find out what you do because they searched, and then they hire you much quicker because the trust is there, the reliability is there, the relationship's there, and you don't even have to sell anymore because you already have that relationship that's successful. So maybe that helps answer that, but if I could define that any further, let me know. But
yeah, no, that was so let's expand on that for a minute. And you crushed it. That was spot on. And I feel this really hits home for a lot of the folks that we're talking with right now. So like Dr. Alyssa's, our folks up in Alaska, Candy, Daisy. Let me give a shout out to our friend Greg Mishu. Greg he's an amazing content creator, inbound marketer for manufacturers. He's very active in Wisconsin with the AMA, the American Marketing Association, does an incredible job building community. Paul mentioned the Twitter group. So Dan Bigger, my brother. So guys, Twitter, I just met Gina, Dan Bigger. I just had a phone call with Gina for the first time today, originally from Dartech, no longer with Dartech, but God love Gina. Every Thursday, they have a Twitter group. It's called USA MFG Hour. And every Tuesday, 2 o'clock Eastern time, 11 o'clock Pacific, manufacturers from all over the country come on this little Twitter group. I've never seen anything like it, total anomaly. And they're building a community of marketers and manufacturers of just have each other's backs, helping elevate each other. Damon does an amazing job. He is the king of networking. Every Thursday, he has a networking group. We have our group here on Friday. He does Faces of Business. So again, we could go on and on a bunch of examples, But we'll hit it for a minute. Ken, we have so much to cover.
Yeah.
Your Twitter group on Thursdays, man. Talk a little bit about the Twitter chat group.
That's crazy.
You do you're starting to do more virtual networking.
Right.
Talk about that Twitter group for a second.
So I'm just a participant. Let's be clear about that. So Dan Bigger, who's on here now, was one of several founders and runs the organization, and they do an incredible, I call it an organization, but it's really just a bunch of volunteers that are getting together on Twitter and doing this chat. It's super educational. The community is incredible. Everybody's extremely supportive. Once you get into this community, you're just going to get so much love on Twitter and LinkedIn and all that stuff. Everybody is super supportive. Every time I post something or say something, they just jump all over it and are just super supportive. So I can't say enough about the community, and it just delivers really educational information. And honestly, when you're niching down into an industry, if you can get educated on what that industry cares about and wants to be educated on, it's so super valuable.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so we'll talk about Gina for a second. So, I had this great phone call with Gina. I'm like, hey, Gina, do you know a gentleman named Andrew Deutsch in Cleveland? She's in Cleveland. And she's like, oh, yeah, Dan Bigger's already connected me with him. We had this conversation. I'm like, hey, do you know Allison DeFord? You have to talk to Allison DeFord. She's like, oh, yeah, I have a call with her today at 3:30. She's like, I have all these folks that I'm connected with because of Dan Bigger, because of Paul. Gail, our friend Gail, I don't know if she's on with us today. She's usually here, so there's all these folks that are coming on, and she's talking about how she's helping people solve problems. Gail needs some help with analytics. Gina's looking for a new opportunity. Greg Mishu comes out and posts her resume. So like we've all come together as a pack and we're helping each other. It's a rising ships, concept. So I love what you're talking about building that community. And I think, and Lisa knows, we're all about community. LinkedIn is a great community. Let's talk about your retention and employees. And I love that you brought that up because I'm like Mr. E-commerce guy. Like we need sales. Years ago, I had a client. They're like, you know what? We're really not looking for sales. And I was kind of taken back. I'm like, who's not looking for sales? But as we talked more, and what came up, workforce was a problem. I'm like, bingo. I'm like, where are your millennials? Where are young people? Where are they looking for? These folks aren't on LinkedIn. They're on social media. They're checking out your company before they even walk in the door.
Yep.
Talk about how do you help your companies, your manufacturers from a workforce standpoint with branding?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what's interesting about employee recruiting and even employee retainment is the brand is more relevant than people realize. And it's I don't think necessarily a conscious thing. It's like a subconscious thing in some ways, but people want to work for an up and coming successful company that's going to be with you for the future, right? If they see your company and it's outdated and it's looking like it's just barely surviving or really outdated, with the website and everything else, they're just going to say, I'd rather work for this other company that looks cool, upcoming, and fresh.
Yeah.
So that's huge. And then messaging as well. Like so many manufacturers are missing an opportunity to talk about on their website, their culture, their benefits and stuff like that. So certainly making sure that the messaging is there and that you're branding towards their career path, that they want to know that when they come in, that it's not just going to be this hourly role only. Like there's a path for you, and that there's a line of success for you. So those are the main things. But the other thing too that manufacturing as a whole has a challenge with is manufacturing perception of a lot of people outside of manufacturing still see manufacturing as dirty, greasy, old, just not the right place for me type of thing. And when you walk into a manufacturing facility, so often it's like walking into the future. It's like crisp and fresh and sterile and robotics everywhere and sparks. And you're like, oh my God, this is the future. And yet the perception is like that it's stuck 100 years ago. So I think in general, there needs to be a change of perception and education of that, because when I have students, and when I tell my students, I'm like, you could work in this place that has incredible benefits, incredible pay. You don't even need a degree, right, for some of these jobs. It's super exciting. It's the future, and there's great job retention, right? Like people, if you want, like you could have a job for the rest of your life in some of these places, where like job security is like doesn't even exist in most industries anymore. So some of that needs to be in the messaging, and some of it's in the branding. If your company looks just bad, low quality, outdated, whatever, it's going to send that message not just to your customers, your prospects, but also to your employees and future prospects and so forth. So I think overall, it has much more impact than people realize.
Yeah. I've got two kids that are in their 20s, and I ask them about this stuff. And my daughter's in her late 20s. They look at this when they look at a job. When they're looking at a job, they're looking at the website. They're looking at Glassdoor. They're seeing what they do in the community. They're seeing how the people do they have events that they actually do that they show people about? Where, us old dudes, we don't even, we grew up at the time where you might have had a company picnic in the summer or something, but that's about it. And now it's the expectations of working with the community and working together and outside of work and having things outside of work are so much higher.
I always say, like, look at what technology does. Technology and manufacturing are like side by side in a lot of ways, very similar. And yet technology does not have a problem with recruiting, and people are dying to work for technology brands. And it's all perception. It's like crazy, just perception, because they're basically the same thing. And yet technology, but technology does not take it for granted. Technology has great career pages. They have culture. They have events. I've done work for technology companies where they have major recruiting events that are mixed with their regular employee events. And it's all super exciting. They have incredible offices. They have, they just scream like fun and exciting. And then you go into a manufacturer and there's no information, and it's an outdated, page that looks low quality. Right. So it's like that perception is almost everything. But if you work for a manufacturer, they often have a lot of those benefits. In fact, more benefits because of the fact that they're so interested in keeping employees. So it's a flip there.
Walking into the future, dude. That's like my new quote. I dropped my pen on that one. So. Wow. So a couple of things. And Paul, you've worked with companies like you've worked with Disney, you worked with the street.com, you've worked with Kraft. I mean, you've worked with some major brands. So like when you bring these conversations to the table, I mean, he's my friend, but he's bringing major credibility with this concept. One more time, I might do it a couple more times. Guys, please drop your LinkedIn profile in the chat box. Connect. I put his LinkedIn profile. If you're just coming in, please check in on Paul's website. He has all sorts of information for you, helping you on branding. Paul, we have another question. My dear friend Don up the road in Alaska. I found through the years of management that employees want to feel valued as a person and how they add value as an organization. Great discussion, Paul. And that's with the branding discussion, those are those opportunities. And your team, you guys have such a dynamic team. You do graphic design, social, a bunch of different tasks. How much of it is on, what do you do when you face that manufacturer that's giving you a little bit of resistance on that culture change or shift? How do you handle those conversations?
Well, it's usually not a culture shift. Usually the culture is there. They just don't even realize it.
They don't know how to communicate it, right?
Yeah. And so like, and I'll talk about personality. So like one of my questions when I'm working on a logo is I'll say, what's your brand personality? Like, what is your company personality? And they honestly don't even know how to answer it. And I say, okay, let's imagine you had a drink and your company's all at a bar and you're all relaxed. Like, what's the atmosphere like? Are you joking? Are you serious? Are you, friendly? Or, what is the personality? Are you, is it just always professional? Like, and then you start getting some interesting ideas and stuff. And sometimes you get some fun answers to that question as well. But in general, you start finding a personality to that, what was interesting to that last question was I recently just made a hire, and when we put out our job post, we had a section on our job post that talked about how we care about our employees, what we do, how we listen, and that we care about their families. We care about, it just talked about like our culture and our core values and what we really believe in being good people, respecting people, that kind of stuff. And almost all the job posts, if they wrote anything, most of them are generic probably, right? But if they wrote responses, they didn't write about like how great a work we do with our website. It was almost always like, I loved how you talked about taking care of family, and I loved how you talked about respecting employees. So like, but that's like, it's amazing because like you talk to these companies and they all believe, a lot of them believe this, not all of them, but a lot of believe in core values and stuff. They just don't know to talk about it. They don't know that that's something that the employees are seeking and excited about, So it's a lot about making sure the right messaging is on there. And that's all tied into brand perception, and even how you design a logo or how you design a website all ties into the personality of that company, the core values of that company. It all kind of comes together. It seems like a far stretch, but it's not. You could easily make a company look really cold and sterile, or you can make them look warm and friendly and a pleasant place to live, a pleasant place to be, to friendly people, that kind of stuff. So it all ties together.
That's awesome. Let's just share what our friend Greg Mishu says. Where is a prospective hire going to go to check out a company, their website? If the website looks antiquated, so does the company and the industry. And again, that was new for me where like when I walked into a couple manufacturers, like, hey, we're at full capacity. We're not looking for new business. We really don't need you. And then all of a sudden when you start talking about that workforce and you're like, oh man, I never thought about that 20 something that, now all of a sudden they had like a deer in a headlight look like, oh man, maybe there's more to social media than like, oh, here's just a Facebook post, but sustainability. Did your team go out on Earth Day, or, everything that we're talking about, Damon's, the example Damon just shared about his daughter. Let's jump in. Okay. So we've covered a lot from beginning, the middle, culture, hiring. Damon is the exit strategy expert, succession planning king. So, people are like, well, wait a minute, I'm not thinking about that. What's the tagline? You should be thinking about selling your business the minute you start your business, right? Not that you're looking to sell today, but let's build it. And Paul just gave a great example. Got away from the name of it, using his own name of his company, made a shift. That was a big change for you, a big decision for you. Okay.
It's huge.
So I'm putting it out to both you guys. Let's have a little exit strategy. What can people be doing today, even just patenting new products, they're just starting out new? What are some branding tips or strategies that you guys have to build their company to make it sellable?
Yeah, I would say brand for the future, not for the present, right? So like think about where you want to be, right? So like make a plan, say, okay, I want to have, whatever, 200 employees, 500, 1,000 employees, whatever. And I want to have a concentration on this, or I want to be opened up to this. Think about your future plan and then brand towards that. And then say it's a company where you think you're going to pass it down to your children. Those children don't want your first name as their business, right? Brand, even if you're doing that, or if you're planning on selling it to a stranger, brand it for, the market, brand it for your customer. Don't brand it for your ego, I know that like it and that's probably going to sting a little bit, right? But like, if you put your last name into it, whatever, like, yes, you're very proud, but like, that's not actually achieving anything towards what you want to do. It's not helping sell. It's not helping your employees. It's not helping whatever. So brand towards the goals that you're trying to do rather than just your ego kind of thing. And then not just your brand, but also your website. Just make sure things are fresh and updated. And then don't try to come up to your competition. You need to look beyond your industry and look at other industries and say, what is like new and fresh that's my competition's not even doing. When we brand and do a website and so forth, we always try to surpass the competition and like set a new bar and say, okay, everybody else chase us now. Because like law firms are a great example. We worked with law firms and for a while, and you do not want to look at their competition because it is just horrendous right? So we started looking and saying, okay, if this law firm was a car company, what car company would it be? If it was a fashion company, what fashion company would it be? And it changed everything. It, like, all of a sudden we made this new look for this law firm that was just so much more interesting and just stood out tremendously amongst a sea of just, scales of justice, right? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So, so those are some of my thoughts. I don't know, Damon, if you have thoughts on that.
No, I just think you nailed on one of the major things, and you changed it with your company by going out of your name and that into a different name. I see that all the time. In fact, someone I'm talking to later today, that they've got their last name in the company name, and I'm just like, we really going to have to figure out how that's going to come into play.
Mhm.
And it's so much better when you brand it, like you said, something independent, something in that people can recognize, really shows what the company is about, what you do, and incorporate the things that you've talked about. And then another thing that you said that's so important, and Jeffrey Graham drives this home all the time, taught me this well, is you're building that website for where you're going to be. You're building that brand where you're going to be, because if you're sitting here with 20 employees in a manufacturing business and you build your website looking like 20 employee manufacturing business in a little teeny building, that's what you're going to attract is clients of a 20 person manufacturing business in a little building. If you can make it accurately, make it look like but we can do these big projects too. And we've done those big projects, show that the expansiveness of what you can really do, not where you're at today.
Absolutely.
So a couple friends I want to give a shout out. You're Paul, fellow New Jersey, and we have John on the program today. Big hello to John. And then a special warm welcome to Sammy Joe. I see Sammy Joe. She's also up in Alaska. A lot of Alaska folks today. Sammy she's due, and she works at the Alaska MEP, and she's due in 2 weeks. So we have 2 new additions coming to the Alaska MEP. Wow. We're just so proud. I'm like the proud uncle up there. And they have a great webinar series that they're doing on Thursday. I dropped that link. Paul, do you have do you want to, we're coming into the end. I want everybody to get a chance to talk to you back at the tables after. Do you have a couple slides that you want to pull up?
Yeah, if you want to see a couple of examples, I'm going to do some before and after. So let's make sure it's clear that the first thing I'm going to show you is the before, right? So let's
before. So we're doing before. This is not Paul's work. We're doing the before, and then we're doing the after, right?
Take a look.
Yeah, that's great.
So don't anybody leave right now.
All right, so
there we go.
Let's get into a presentation if that works here.
There we go.
Yeah, looks good.
Let's see. So this is a company we worked with a few years ago, and we're still working with them. Norwalt Design Inc. Nice. That's their old logo, and that's their old website. Mm-hmm. And you can make your own judgment calls, and I don't want to tear it down too much because they are still a client. But
yeah.
But we'll take a look at the new brand. But you can see it's very dark. You don't really have a clear understanding of what they do. It's hard to hard to read the website. And then I'll switch to their new brand. So this is their new logo.
Awesome.
Really just focusing in on the Norwalt part. The icon is an N, has 2 kind of arrows coming together in a cycle to kind of represent that automation. And then we came up with a tagline because Norwalt didn't really mean anything to anybody. So we needed a tagline to help kind of explain the story, explain what they were. So the next evolution in automation. And then just a quick glance at how it translated into a website.
Wow.
Awesome. Which of course is mobile friendly and so forth.
Well done.
And then, different things like PowerPoint slides and stuff like that. So I'll go to another sample so we don't take too much time on that. This is Hayden. Hayden is interesting. So they make strut metal, which is tremendously boring as a product, right? It's just metal beams, but we ended up rebranding it. So this is the old, right? This is the previous. So logo, and this is some kind of sell sheet that they had here. Mm-hmm. And then that turned into this. So they wanted to make sure that they still had that strut metal H in there.
Yeah.
So
awesome.
This tagline, I'll just quickly tell you a story. So we're in the meeting with them, and we're talking about their brand, and the woman, and I said, so what do you really do? And she says, we just get shit done, right? We just get shit done. And I said, there's your tagline. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I was like, just get strut done. And it was risky, but they went for it and it paid off. And then on the bottom here, you could see the sell sheet. So just a different vibe, catalog, that kind of stuff.
Look at that. Look at that. That's just, oh, God, I'm getting chills right now. It's bringing, it's taking an old school manufacturer and you're just really sexying it up. It's making it look more appealing and everything we talked about, more appealing to the culture, the brand, partners, customers, employees, the whole, man, great job, Paul.
Thank you.
Way to go.
This is SimQuest. So SimQuest, if you might know them, you might not, they sell 3D printers, 3D printing software, manufacturing software. And so they came to me, they're a 30-year-old company and they sell 3D printers, right? And to them, 3D printing is old. And I was like, what are you talking about? Like, it's still the future, right? So when they came to me, this is their old sell sheet, old logo. And when I came to me, I said, we gotta like rebrand you and make you into the future. So we wanted to really kind of like push it and just try and go almost like PlayStation, like really futuristic, modern. So there's the logo, some stationery, brochure kind of thing. So just really trying to pop with it and make it more futuristic, more modern, a little more sexy, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
That is awesome. That's a bike helmet?
Yeah, absolutely.
How cool is that? That is fantastic.
This is, so I'll show you the before here. This is Filer Mutual. Filer Mutual was a telephone company from like 100+ years ago. And then they found themselves in technology. They were like, they do everything technology now, like IT, voice, like just full technology company. So we rebranded them to TrueLeap Technologies. So this is a rebrand, rename, really come up with a whole new look. And we wanted something that was memorable. So we have this, TrueLeap of the flying squirrel leaping off the side there to just bring it, give it more friendliness, make it more exciting.
Yeah. Very cool.
Maybe I'll show you one more. Is Aoi Matcha is a manufacturer of matcha tea and matcha powder, and they have this look of very sterile, chemical looking, like laboratory type of thing. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you're delicious. Like, let's show cool, inspiring, culinary looking stuff. So
let's Paul, if you don't mind, wait, go back 1 second. And I know we're going way over time, but this is so good. Go back on that. Okay. Guys, we've been like a lot of folks on the program, we've been talking about persona and digging deep into the persona. Yeah. What did Paul just say? Like, you make a tea that's delicious, and zero disrespect to anybody who made this, but there's just there's such a disconnect right here. And this is just so common, and God bless them, the person that made it, they had great intentions. This is what they felt. Right. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead and show what you did next.
No, but we wanted to inspire chefs. We wanted to make it very delicious, culinary,
Look at that. I mean, night and day.
This is their trade show booth. So we're comparing a website to a trade show booth, but we're actually in the process of their website now. And this is a sell sheet, So just really kind of saying, like, what can you do with matcha? Like, how great of it. And so we still have it as an ingredient, but just trying to make it exciting, delicious, authentic, that kind of thing, So,
Greg missed you. Greg, you wear your lab coat when you're putting away your Tupperware, right? I don't know if you guys caught his Tupperware post, that video, that dude, that was hysterical. So great comment. Don says fishing lure manufacturing. I think about a year away from that. And Melissa says same here, Greg. So Dan Bigger says nice job. Wow. That was awesome. See, thank you for taking the time to give us the before and afters, because look at what a powerful impact that you're having on U.S. manufacturing. You're helping companies, get into 2021 and get out of the past and like, hey, this is how we've always done it. And boy, what great work you're doing, man. Kudos.
Thank you, Curt.
Let's give a little round of applause to Paul, man.
So cool. So cool.
Greg Mitchell says that's an amazing portfolio. I hate that phrase. What phrase? What did I say?
You got to be careful to read all the chats before.
I know. I'm like, man, did I say something wrong? Doing what we all right, exactly. And Damon knows this one, man. About 2009, those words came out of my mouth. This is how we've always done it. I sold my business 6 months later. So I knew that was my day to get out. So guys, Paul, thank you so much for joining us today. Guys, I want to wish everybody incredible happy Friday. We're going to get back to the tables. Paul, any parting thoughts, anything that you want to share with our folks?
I'm just big thank you to Curt and Damon for having me on, and this was so much fun, and I love sharing this stuff with you guys. We only just scratched the surface, so I'd love to dive deeper someday.
We're gonna have you back for sure. So guys, a lot going on over the weekend. Number one, Alyssa, our prayers are with you. We have a wonderful, healthy baby coming on Sunday. I know, Dan, we got to sing too. We got to sing happy anniversary to Paul. So Dan, we were practicing all week, man. We were practicing our duet, weren't we, Dan? So we've got Dr. Alyssa is going to be a new mom over the weekend. We have Sammy Joe that's expecting. Damon, what do you got? Anything on your end, dude?
I actually do.
What do you got?
My son's birthday party this weekend. He's 22, so we get to go brew beer.
Nice. Awesome. Well, guys, God bless each and every single one of you. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us. Please stick around. Come back to the tables. You get a chance to talk with Paul, pick some more brilliance while he's here. So, Paul, thank you, dude. We just can't express our gratitude for taking your time.
Thank you. And I'm hoping I can see some people at the tables. It'd be great to meet everybody.
Absolutely. Right. So have a great weekend.
Yep. Okay. For those of you listening on LinkedIn Live, we're shutting it down now. Going back to Remo, going to be at the tables, doing a little bit of networking, talking to Paul. Thanks for joining us there. We'll be back again next Friday for another event.
Thank you.
Val, very inspirational. Thanks, Val.
There we go. We're going back to the tables, everyone.